The TC Electronic Ditto X4 Looper. Let's check it out. All right, first of all, let's take a look at the controls of the X4. On the back panel, we have the usual connectors. There's the power supply, as you would expect. There's also input and output, and it is stereo in and stereo out, so cool there. There's also, on the back, you can't see it here, but there's MIDI in and MIDI through that allows you to synchronize the X4 with other MIDI devices in terms of tempo, so pretty cool there. There's also a USB port for importing and exporting loops. And finally, there are small miniature dip switches that allow you to make kind of advanced configurations like true bypass versus drive-through, that sort of thing. All the goodness, though, that you're normally going to use is on the top. So let's go ahead and talk about that. First of all, we have an area for loop 1 and loop 2. Oh, did I tell you that this looper has 2 separate loops? That's pretty cool. And I guess that's why it's the X4 as opposed to the X2. So each loop has a loop level control. It also has a miniature switch for storing and deleting loops, and it also has the loop foot switch that allows you to record, playback, overdub, undo, and redo all in one switch. So pretty cool there. Loop 2 is exactly the same as loop 1, and in the middle there's a switch that allows you to run the loops in serial and in sync mode. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. As we look over to the right then, kind of in this third column, we have a master stop switch, which is pretty cool. It'll stop both loops at the same time, whatever's running. If you hit it and hold it down, you can erase everything from the device. Also, there's a decay knob that allows you to fade out loops as you overdub them. I'll be demoing that in a few minutes. And finally, the column on the right has 2 controls for loop effects. So the foot switch allows you to bring your effect in and out, and there are 7 different effects. So we'll look at those again in a couple minutes. All right, so nice package of features. Let's talk about the loops first. So I've got a couple of loops pre-staged here, and I just want to show you how the serial and sync modes work. So let me go ahead and turn on a loop and just let that play for a moment. And I'll just bring the level up and down so you can hear that. All right, pretty straightforward stuff, right? Oh, by the way, did I mention that I'm an ambient guitarist? Yes, you're going to hear delay on this video. Can't help it, it's in my blood. So that's pretty cool. Loop 2, I've got another loop set up. Let me go ahead and play that. Really simple stuff. What I like to do now is just show you how you can link the loops together using both serial and sync mode. So I've got the switch set to serial. So what this does, it allows me to play loop 1 and then follow it with loop 2. So let's check that out. You'll hear me, I'm going to start with loop 1. You'll see me hit the switch kind of midway in the middle of the loop 1, and it will actually play back loop 2 then. So here we go. So pretty cool. You can see that if you're in loop 1 and you want to switch to loop 2, you hit the switch in the middle of loop 1, the lights will begin blinking very fast to indicate that you've queued up this loop. And in each case, the new action doesn't take effect until the current loop completes. So pretty cool there. Let's check out the sync mode. Now, what the sync mode does, it allows us to play loop 1 and loop 2 simultaneously. So think about some of the things you might be able to do with that. Let's check that out. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So you noticed I was kind of stopping and starting loop 2 at different points in the sequence of loop 1. So you can stagger the loops, you can kind of play them together. If you're good at things, you can kind of get them going both at the same time. And the thing to note is that each loop can be different lengths. I've made these 2 loops just for this demo kind of close to the same length. But you could do, 1 bar here. You might do 16 bars here. And then you've got a lot of options for how you combine the 2 loops together. And each loop, as it's playing independently, you are also allowed to overdub layers on top of each loop together. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the loop effects here. And we've got 7 of them. So I'm going to run through them real quick using loop 1. So all you do is flip the knob to the effect you want, and when you're ready to go, hit the effects switch, and the effect will come in. So here we go. The first effect is reverse. All right, next effect is half, which is half speed. So that's going to bring us, slow the whole thing down. All right, next effect is once. So let's go ahead and check that out. So did you get that? It plays through the loop once and then stops. All right, next one is called tape stop. So let's check that out. Okay, so what this effect does is it kind of simulates a reel-to-reel tape recorder where you might kind of put your finger on the reel and slow down the tape reel. And if you leave it on long enough, it'll just kind of go and stop the whole loop. Let's try that again. So that's kind of interesting. It doesn't work so well in this particular loop, but if you've got a more rhythmic loop, you could actually use it and stay in rhythm and kind of add that kind of effect in your, in your performance. The next effect is called fade, and this will just simply fade out your loop. So this is a good one to use kind of at the end of your performance, just to fade everything out. All right, pretty cool. Next one is double, and that's going to be your double speed loop. And finally, we have a hold feature that kind of freezes part of the loop. Let me show you what I mean. So pretty cool. You can do a lot with those effects. And one of the things I've noticed, let's see if I can do this, is you can actually kind of stack effects. So let me go ahead and switch it to reverse and see if I can stack in, for example, the fade. So here we go. So I like that. So for example, you could do reverse and half speed or double and reverse. I haven't tried double and half. That sounds kind of weird. Seems like that would just be normal speed. I don't know. But in any case, it might be worth playing around with the different layers of effects. All right, so this just leaves the decay knob in terms of the features. So how does this work? Well, basically, if you have the knob all the way to the right, as you add layers to your loops, it just acts like a normal looping function where the layers just kind of build up and build up and build up. If you bring the decay knob to the left to whatever amount you wish, then as you add layers to your loop, the underlying layers fade out and disappear. And if you bring it all the way to the left, as you add layers, the underlying layers disappear pretty much immediately as the loop completes. So let me go ahead and play a little bit, and I'm going to add on to loop 1 with the decay turned to about 9 o'clock, and let's see what happens. Okay, so that was a very simple example, but you can see how the loop layers kind of faded out. And I definitely lost that very first loop. So that's kind of cool. Now for me as an ambient guitarist, I'm thinking, quasi-frippertronics with layers of loops. There's a lot of possibilities there. Well, there you have it. The X4 is a nice addition to the Ditto looper line that TC Electronic makes. It's still very simple to use. The sound quality is awesome, and those effects and the ability to sync and serialize 2 loops is pretty cool. Definitely worth your while to check out. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I've got ambient guitar related content coming every week. And as always, I'll see all of you on the next video.